respected Chief Guest Sri Ramesh Pai, the Chairman of the meeting, Dr. V.M. Santosh, Principal, Pioneer College, Dr. A.C. Srihari, Faculty Member, the Department of English, Sri K.K.P. Janardhanan, Secretary, English Alumni Association, Sri K.P. Sridharan, General Secretary, General Alumni Association, all the alumni members of the department, and the teachers gathered over here. A warm welcome to all. Professor C.J. Pai was a legendary figure in the mind of the English learners of North Malabar. And his colonial attitude, colonial in a positive sense, I say, that was generated by the language he studied, and all the features of that colonial things made him such a stature in the mind of the English learners of English language. Being a student of English literature and a student of Professor C.J. Pai, and I very well know how Professor generated such an enthusiasm in the mind of the students in the class. So whenever he comes to Payyanur, he used to visit our department and the college, and he was keeping such a good relationship with the department. And quite unexpectedly, we heard the news of his demise 2 or 3 weeks back. So it is such an opportunity to respect him or give respect to Professor C.J. Pai. So the PG Department of English is organizing such a seminar. And we thought that talking about or the seminar should begin with a discussion on cognitive language and literature, and from where Professor C.J. Pai was germinated. And that is why our department members, Dr. V.M. Santosh, contacted through Sri K.P. Sridharan to Ramesh Pai, and he gave his kind consent to come over here. So we are very happy to express our gratitude to Sri Ramesh Pai to come over here. So my official duty is to welcome this session. So first of all, I welcome Sri Ramesh Pai, the first chairman of the Konkani Sahitya Academy, to the platform of Pioneer College. So you are warmly welcome to this session, sir. Then,
thank you.
Okay. Then Dr. V.M. Santosh, the department member of this PG Department of English, and then the principal of Pioneer College. You are warmly welcome to this session.
Thank you, sir.
And Dr. A.C. Srihari is introducing the chief guest and introducing Professor C.J. Pai to these listeners. And Dr. A.C.S. is warmly welcome to this session.
Thank you, sir.
And Sri K.K.P. Janardhanan, even now, he's such an enthusiastic supporter of the department, all the activities of the Department of English. As the Secretary of this English Alumni Association, Dr. Sri K.K.P. Janardhanan also is warmly welcome to this session. Then Sri K.P. Sridharan.
Thank you.
Yes. Sri K.P. Sridharan, he is always supporting all the activities of this college, being the part of the General Alumni Association. Sri K.P. Sridharan also is welcome to this session. And all the members gathered over here from the Department of English, then the members of the Alumni Association, and all the other members who has already joined here, you are all welcome to this academic session. So once again, you are all welcome to this session. And I invite Dr. V.M. Santosh to preside over this function. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear friend Ramachandran sir, our head of the department. Dear Payyanur Ramesh Pai sir, Srihari sir, KP Sridharan sir, dear Janardhan, my colleagues and academic enthusiasts who are attending this program uh, from our college as well as from other colleges. Good morning to you all. Actually, this program is a culmination of two events, one very most unpleasant event and another a very pleasant event. The first one is the demise, the unexpected demise of Professor C.J. Pai, who is a legend of English language and literature teaching, as Premendran sir has rightly pointed out. The second one is a post which our alumni general secretary Sri KP Sridharan made in the online community Payyanur Diaries about Sri Ramesh Pai, who is a doyen of say Konkani language and literature. So we, the department, decided to, whenever I say, even though I'm, this is the first program that I'm attending as the principal. So whenever I say we, it always goes to the Department of English. Okay. So we decided to have Professor C.J. Pai memorial talk by the most apt person, Ramesh Pai sir, who stayed with Professor C.J. Pai and who studied in Payyanur College, who is an alumnus of the Department of English, Payyanur College. And as I told you, this is the first official program that I'm attending after assuming charge as a principal of this prestigious college. And I'm indeed delighted that it's a program commemorating the grandeur of Professor C.J. Pai, because I joined college in his vacancy when he went on, leave preparatory to retirement. Before that, right from my childhood, I have been associated with the Professor C.J. Pai through my father initially, then as his student. He has been a paternal figure, motivating me, scolding me, sometimes taunting me, guiding me, everything. At every crucial point of my academic pursuit, I have sought his help. I have sought his, guidance. So it's a matter of personal contentment that this happened to be the first program. I don't want to prolong this address because all of us are very eagerly waiting to listen to Sri Ramesh Pai sir's talk. And as Premendran sir said, the Professor C.J. Pai and Ramesh Pai both shall be introduced to you by our senior faculty, Sri Hari sir, who is also a student, like all of us of Professor C.J. Pai, and a pet student of Professor C.J. Pai. So I wind up this presidential address here, and taking charge of the chairman of this function, I take the privilege of inviting Dr. A.C. Srihari, senior faculty of the Department of English, to introduce Professor CJP and today's resource person, Sri Ramesh Pai. And I take the privilege of extending a special welcome to Venugopal Kannod sir, who is also a former student of this department, who is occupying a very prestigious position in the banking sector. So welcome to all once again, each and everyone who is attending this program once again, and over to you, Sri Hari sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Santosh. Good morning to one and all. The duty assigned to me is to introduce Professor C.J. Pai and as well as Sri Payyanur Ramesh Pai, who is the chief guest of the day. Professor Pai, as our HOD, Premendran sir, and our principal Santosh sir have already mentioned, he was a legend to the... Haridha, please switch off your mic. He was a great source of inspiration. And he joined our college just after 1 year, when I think in 1965, July, the college was begun, and in 66 July, he joined after the college was begun. Just after Professor VMR, our Vice Chancellor Raman Nambudiri, was the first head of the department, and also there was Chandra Marsh and Chaturthi Marsh and others there before C.J. Pai. But whenever we think about our professors, the first figure that comes before our eye is Professor Pai, because of his scholarship, his way of teaching, and his dealing with his colleagues and friends, the students as well. And he had been here for I think for somewhat 30 years, and he retired from his service in 1997 March, though he went on preparatory to retirement in 1996. Sorry, 1996 October itself. He actually had wanted to remain here till his retirement, because he, as he used to tell us, that teaching was his oxygen, and he never wanted to go on leave. It's only to accommodate we people in the department that he had entered on a leave like that, a long leave like that. Then just after the retirement, he, I think he became the first principal of Vidyamandir Institution, Payyanur. Then later, when his family shifted to Mumbai, his son was working there, and he is still there in Mumbai. He went to teach in Time Coaching Institute in Mumbai, because the only job he says, he used to tell that is teaching. So he taught there for some time in Time Coaching Institute in Mumbai, and later he became a member of the management body of Vidya Prakash Mandal Educational Institution in Mumbai, where there are still, I think, more than 5,000 students and 250 staff. And Sujata Pai, his daughter, she has been here for some time after his death, and she went back yesterday to the US, and if possible, she said she would join in this session, and I had also shared our link to her. And please, those who moderate the session, please see whether she is there in the queue, or whether she is there to join us. Please check it. And Payyanur Ramesh Pai, who is the chief guest, who is here to give us a talk on Konkani literature and also make a commemoration speech of Professor Pai. He did his BA English Language and Literature, as our principal said, from our department itself in Payyanur College from 1975 to 80, both pre-degree and degree. And later his MA in Malayalam Language and Literature from Kerala University in 1983. He has worked in 4 different banks in India and UAE, spanning over 30 years period. He has published several books in Malayalam, Kannada, English, Konkani, some of them being translations, compilations, and edited works, besides own essays. Mr. Pai was the first chairman of the Konkani Sahitya Academy, Kerala, formed by the government of Kerala under its Ministry of Cultural Affairs during 2012-2016. He is interested in the development of Konkani language and literature. He has presided over the Mumbai session of the All India Konkani Parishad in 2018. He is at present a member of the General Council, Kendra Sahitya Academy, New Delhi, representing Konkani language, and a trustee of the Vishwa Konkani Kendra, Mangalore. Currently, he is working on a book about Sanskrit scholar, life and works of Vedamurti K. Padmanabha Bhatt. Thank you all once again. Now over to principal. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sri Hari sir. Then we move on to the main business of today's session, Konkani language and literature is a totally unfamiliar area as far as we students of English language and literature are concerned. So I request our chief guest, today's resource person, Payyanur Sri Ramesh Pai, to enlighten us on this very vibrant area of literature. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, and a very good morning to all my friends and teachers. I appreciate the idea of starting a commemoration lecture series, that too from the institution which was the very dear bread and butter for Professor C.J. Pai, who is my uncle. Actually, he is my father's younger brother, uncle in the sense paternal uncle. And more than an uncle, he was a friend, philosopher and guide. I should say that. So, because I start my session with commemorating my uncle. I remember a day when I had to write an essay in a competition, and the competition was held in Kanjangad, in our temple, and the topic was Karma Yoga as in Bhagavad Gita. There were 3 topics given in advance, and it was meant for college students from our community, and then the students were free to come prepared offhand, but write in an hour's time whatever they have prepared. But then a few days earlier, I came to know that these are the 3 topics, and when I discussed this with my uncle, I was surprised to see his immediate response. He took out a very large volume of Bhagavad Gita, and that too on Karma Yoga, written by Aravinda Ghosh, and that he asked me to read as a preparatory thing, and then you will be very confident to write the essay. And he literally meant it, and I could read it leisurely and then prepared very seriously and went to Kanjangad to appear for the essay competition. After I came back, I never expected a prize for that, or I was not eager also to follow up what happened after the competition, because it will take a few days to adjudge the essays and other items also in the contest. So I was back to my classes, and after 2 weeks, my uncle is telling me, "Did you get any information on the essay competition?" I said, "No." Then he said, "Your name appears in the list as a first prize winner." I said, "Thank you. The prize is for you, not for me, because you coached me." And the topic was so familiar for him that whatever I read, he could recollect and tell me, "Did you write this point? Did you write this sloka?" like that. So it was really a surprise for me in those days, because a person who is teaching English literature to be very familiar and thorough in a totally different area, that too an Indian philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, was not something normal in my concept. And later, that too when I joined BA, I had opted for economics subject, economics main. And then our principal that time was Professor P.K. Surendranath. The day the classes opened in the afternoon, he called me, Professor Surendranath, and he said, "You are the only student who has won first class in the pre-degree, and you are welcome to my economics class," because he was the economics professor, head of the department also, and all my best wishes. So that gave me a little more confidence in the subject. And after about 2 weeks, That is the time when the students get acquainted with other fellow students and other teachers, various textbooks, whether main subject or subsidiary subjects. And after 2 weeks, Professor VMR called me, VM Raman Namboodiripad. He said, "Why did you go to economic class?" I said, "Because economics is something close to commerce. Because my option would have been commerce, BCom, if there was a course in our college. I could not afford to go to Taliparamba, which is the closest place, or otherwise Nehru College in Padanakkad, to take up commerce. So my option would be always, preference would be to be in Payyanur, stay with my uncle and learn whatever courses taught in the college." So from the professional point of view, because those days studying was only to get some job, a degree, and then qualify for a job. So economics would fetch some better prospects was the expectation. But Raman Namboodiripad said, "We have never studied economics and we have expertised in English language. That's why we are here, and you are the only student who has scored 77% in English in the pre-degree. Other subjects all above 60, well, but in our English main class, there is not a single student sitting who has scored first class in the pre-degree. So it is really boring. We need at least one good student to come to our class. Why don't you switch over?" Then I said, "Let me check with my uncle," because my uncle never persuaded or forced me to take up English. He was just leaving it for my liberty, my freedom, and then my choice. He never said that I will teach you and then you come to my class. No. But then when Professor VMR said like that, it was my moral responsibility to consult my uncle, and I explained him, this is what Professor Surendranath told and this is what Professor Raman Namboodiripad is saying. He again said, "I will not interfere, it's your choice. Whatever you feel better, it can interest you and you feel you can score, you are welcome to pursue." Then I went back to Professor Surendranath saying sorry that this is a very confusing kind of situation. I need your concurrence, sir. I will join English department because I feel homely when my uncle comes to the class. Although he was coming for other general English classes also, but this is a specialization in English. So if you allow me, I will go and sit in English class in BA. He also said, "No problem, but tell me, what will you do after BA? What is your vision beyond BA, whether it is economics or English?" I said, "I would have been happy if I get a bank job, because that was the aspiration, to be a banker, because in our community most of the people are in banks, working in banks, and you know, some banks have been established by our people, and so we feel comfortable to join such banks." He said, "If that is the case, I am on the interview board of Federal Bank, and whether you go for economics class or English class, if you apply for a job in Federal Bank, I may be able to help you. Just remember me, and all my best wishes if you are joining English class." And with the blessings of all these senior teachers, I sat in the BA English class and ended up as a BA English Literature student. And that was my graduation from Payyanur College. And there was Professor Sali, Professor M.B. Chandran, Maya teacher, and Vishnu Nambudiri. Of course, Raman Namboodiripad also has taken classes, and all these teachers at various stages took their respective portions. And I was the secretary of English Association. comprising of first year, second year and third year students of English literature. And I remember the very cordial relationship our department, and for that matter all other departments, had with the zoology department, which was the separate block across the ground. And Professor John C. Jacob was the head of the zoology department. He was a teacher with a difference. He was also very active in Shastra Sahitya Parishad, and then he wanted all the students under him to focus on science, not just for passing the marks, scoring the marks. It was beyond that. So with that intention, he mobilized adequate funds to purchase a projector for the department. And with the projector, he contacted several agencies who were supplying motion pictures for educational purpose on science subjects, especially zoology. He had a very high public relationship. Public relations was very, very good for him. And then he could mobilize so many pictures. Once in a week, at least one picture he would show. And students had to sit and watch that movie and learn something from that. He would be very observative. After the movie, when he takes class, he would ask some questions related to the syllabus, what they are teaching, what they are learning, and what are the points they have picked up from the movie. So this kind of atmosphere was there. I had been fortunate to be a guest student there, because some topic which was being shown, some film which was being shown was of some interest, and he allowed. He was welcoming any other student also to come and watch such movies. And after sitting in that session, a thought came to me, why don't we emulate his example? Because we have English literature, and English literature has got several dramas of Shakespeare, Bernard Shaw and many others, which we were visualizing in the class. Somebody, some character coming on the stage and then talking something, then the famous Mark Antony speech, all that we were trying to visualize. If it is happening in a motion picture, in a film, that would impress the students in such a way that the learning from the pages would be, they will be able to excel than simply reading from the books. So this will impress them in a better way. So with that idea, I discussed with Sri Vishnu Nambudiri and also Raman Nambudiri Pat and my uncle, that we need to screen some of the English movies of Shakespeare. If you can help me find out where these agencies are there, or where we can obtain such footages, and then we can show with the help of Professor John C. Jacob. And it so happened that before I left Pioneer College, we could mobilize and show about 3 English movies which were all Shakespearean plays. And it so happened that when January 1980 came, I had passed an interview for a bank, which was Indian Overseas Bank. In the test and interview I had passed out, and so the appointment letter was ready by January last week. So I straight away took it to my uncle and then showed it to him. He said, all the best, because my father was a bit worried. He was about to retire in a year, and what will happen to my career if I don't get a job, even if I pass BA. So he knew it very well. So he said, you can join and then study in your room where you are staying, and then come back and appear for the exam. I will see that you don't miss out any portions or any notes being given. And I went to Professor Surendranath also, and he also blessed me, saying that, okay, all the best. I had already promised you that I will take care of your banking career if you apply for Federal Bank. Now this is a different thing. It's a BSRB, Banking Service Recruitment Board, which had conducted the very first exam, and you have passed out in that. So all my best. So the posting was in Tiruvalla. So I joined Indian Overseas Bank in Tiruvalla, 1980 February. I came back in May to appear for the exam. Tomorrow is the exam. My hall ticket is with my uncle. The previous day I went there and collected the hall ticket, studied whatever notes my fellow students, my classmates were sending me every weekly basis dispatches. It is just unbelievable. In these days, very few people take care of the person sitting next to him or her, especially in the colleges. With the classes not being completed, with the education, the academic year also not getting over, it was premature for me to leave the class. In February and March, 2 months the classes were going on, and my classmates wrote whatever notes dictated. They were writing for them only, and after going back home, they were copying it for me, collecting it, and once in a week dispatching to my Indian Overseas Bank address in Tiruvalla. It is quite unbelievable. And when I came back in May to write the exam, I don't know how to return with thanks that gratitude, except I took all of them after writing the exam in the evening for a treat, just a cup of coffee or tea and then some snack in the college canteen. This was the unforgettable event, and after that it's history. I got confirmed in the bank, and then my career changed. So I was all along banker only, and that also with the sweet memories from Pioneer College. And my Malayalam teachers, professors like Melatha Chandrasekharan, Mahmood Ahmad, M.R. Chandrasekharan, Vijay Lakshmi teacher, and in Hindi we had Balakrishnan Master. All these language teachers had instilled a kind of light in the mind, that reading literary pieces from whatever language, it gives you a very good insight about life. It gives you very good insight about your future, and the concept of approach to the very next human being itself gets concreted. And in Malayalam, it was my passion to get an MA or any qualification in Malayalam. But unfortunately, I could not pursue Malayalam MA in my college. So after joining in the bank, I registered as a private candidate, and Professor Anandan from SD College Alleppey was forthcoming to help me and assist me and guide me, plus encouraging me to borrow his books. His personal library was very good at home, so I could go to Alleppey once in a week or once in a month and borrow books and read from his library. And that he helped also to register as a private candidate, and learning and earning what was the mantra. So I could complete MA Malayalam and then get over with a degree in 1983. So ever since that, I never looked back, because language was continuing as a passion. All along my worry was, what is lacking in Konkani literature? Malayalam is fine, Hindi I am comfortable, English of course I have been student, and there are various other languages which we don't know or we have not heard or we don't speak. But Konkani has been all along spoken in my home, with my relatives, with my friends, with my peer group, etc. But never ever I came across a book like a novel or a book of poetry or a book of short stories in my language. All what I have learned, what I have read, is a monthly which was coming from Mangalore, and that too printed in Kannada script, because Konkani was using Kannada script was being used to write Konkani in Mangalore area, and those who know Kannada script of course. Fortunately, I had learned Kannada script, Kannada language in first and second standard, and I never forget that, because those days learning was not for getting A plus or any scoring purpose, but to widen your horizon of knowledge. So I could master Kannada with all humility, let me admit, with the blessings of my elders, including Professor C.J. Pai, because he also studied Kannada in his school days. And then Kannada was like a very sisterly language for Konkani people. So with that background, I pursued a extra reading or non-detailed reading kind of thing in Kannada whenever I get a chance on a vacation, etc. So that magazine was very lively. We were subscribing, getting it at home, and then that opened up the vistas for developing further information, further knowledge in Konkani language and literature. And later I came to know that Konkani was an Indo-Aryan language, and more so when somebody explores about goes deep into Konkani language, because any language when you speak, there are some kind of usages, phrases, idioms, proverbs, and that kind of colloquial oral literature for any language. Same thing with Konkani also, because my father was very humorous and always used to use one or other proverb in his conversations when it comes to some serious topic. So that had instilled the interest, and then reading of that Kannada scripted Konkani magazine also continued the pursuit, the interest. And fortunately, because I was posted in Tiruvalla, later I was transferred to Changanasheri, and that time some friend invited me to Cochin to go to the temple, etc. So when I went there, I found that there was a magazine in Konkani printed from Cochin, and that too in Malayalam script. So it was fascinating actually, just switching over from Kannada script to Malayalam script, but retaining the same language, talking about the writing about the same language, and then knowing more language, more scripts, more languages is always costly, because you feel passionate to buy books, you feel passionate to subscribe magazines, and in the process you spend more on that. So with all that background, I could understand what is Konkani language, what is Konkani literature, how various dialects exist in Konkani language, because it is very different for you people or any people around us to even conceive this kind of historical or whatever background. Because our community, our language group is a migrated community, you know it. It's well known that our forefathers migrated from Goa to Karnataka and other places including Kerala for whatever background, Portuguese times. And it was to protect our culture, our beliefs, our language and our way of life, which was at threat. So it was a do or die situation. Either become a Christian in Goa under the Portuguese rule and enjoy your property, or leave Goa and then take your beliefs or whatever with you. This was the choice. And the Kashmiri Pandits in Kashmir also faced the similar situation, if there is a comparison. But let me come back to my language and literature. A scattered community from Goa to Maharashtra, Karnataka and Kerala, how do you expect a standard literature or a standard language with all the regions speaking the same language, speaking the same intonations? It is impossible. So today as we speak, my language has got 42 dialects, right from south tip of Kerala, Trivandrum side, to ultimately to Ratnagiri side, all along the west coast. If you go, of course every language, they say, Punjani Masha has already said, Aru Natil Nooru Bhasha. So every 10, 15, 50 miles you go, you travel, you come across another dialect of the same language, whatever be the language. We know how many dialects we come across in Malayalam when we travel in a train. Same way in Konkani language also, there are 42 dialects of different communities and different regions. With this much of variety, it is quite difficult to master the language. So today, Goa University is imparting classes in MA Konkani language and literature, which is very difficult for other region students to pick up. With the national recognition for Konkani language given in 1992 by including it in the 8th schedule of our national constitution, Konkani has got a better status as a language. In our rupee notes which we carry in our pockets, just above Malayalam you will find the denomination written in Konkani language. This is because it has come in the 8th schedule. Other languages also appear there. But after getting it in 8th schedule, Konkani has been recognized to be one of the languages for appearing in the civil services exam. When you write IAS, IFS, IRS, whatever the civil services exams, there is every paper carries 300 marks. And in that, if any person opts Malayalam, he can write in Malayalam. Any person opting in Kannada, he can write Kannada. Same way, Malayalam, Konkani also can be written for civil services exam. But my people, my brothers, youngsters in Kerala find it very difficult to appear for that particular paper by opting Konkani language. It is because of this simple reason that our dialect in Kerala has been quite distinct and not yet coping up with the other mainstream dialect. But there are always challenges for any learning. It is not that easy. And one day you will find so many Konkani people, Konkani students who have excelled in Konkani paper and who have been successful in civil services exam. Today also there are civil services students, qualified students who speak Konkani, but they have appeared for the language test using some other language which they have studied in their colleges. So this is about recognition for Konkani, and of course Sahitya Academy has already recognized Konkani in 1995, and 95 onwards the awards are being given for the best book every year. Just like in Malayalam, we also get awards in Konkani language books. Konkani writers get translation awards also. Konkani writers get children's literature awards also. Recently, our Malayalam novelist, if you remember, one Mr. V. Krishnavadiyar, who had won Maman Mappala Award when I was a college student in 1980. He has today received Bala Sahitya Puraskar of Kendra Sahitya Academy and collected it at a function from Bhubaneswar just last November 14th. V. Krishnavadiyar is a very well known name in Malayalam literature, but he never won a Sahitya Academy Award for a Malayalam book. He has published more than 12 novels, and this is his Bala Sahitya novel which brought him the Sahitya Academy Puraskar because it is his mother tongue. So always cultivating literature in one's own mother tongue is always better and can help to fill the vacuum and shine well in his own area. As regards Konkani literature, as I said, we have a very good oral history, oral literature, and oral literature is very rich because several aspects have been brought out from the oral literature about our heritage, about our social customs, etc. And then migration, of course, migration of our people has been a theme in many old grandma stories or grandma songs. And then there are of late very good novels, very good short story collections, very good poems coming out in Konkani language after the encouragement by Goa government as an official language in Goa. Konkani has received the recognition as an official language in Goa state because our India got independent in 1947, but Goa became independent after 1961 only. So the gap of 14 years created a kind of backlog for Konkani literature also. Because always a push from the government and blessings by the rulers will give good impetus for any progress of any language. Even in Malayalam it is so, whether we accept it or not. Ezhuthachan Puraskaram is considered by all writers as a very prestigious and desirable kind of a dreaming kind of Puraskar. Who gives it? It is just Kerala government. So we can't say that we are against establishment. We don't want establishment to come in our way. No, establishment can always give a push because it is part of the life. The common man's life is touched by literature and government. It goes hand in hand. It reflects it is like a mirror. The life gets a push when somebody encourages, when somebody pats, when somebody consoles the qualities or the outputs what we do. Same thing in Konkani also. Government of Goa has instituted several awards and also formed a Goa Konkani Academy which is promoting Konkani language and literature. We have been able to get grants for a few of our writers' books published in Devanagari script Konkani by the different publishers in Kerala as well as Karnataka from the Goa government's Konkani Academy. And our voluntary organizations promoting Konkani language and literature are so many. We have at least a dozen of them across the country who are doing very good service and very good activities, consolidating, coordinating and trying to promote standard Konkani across the regions. So with the folklore coming in the background, getting the roots in the past and then looking forward to future, taking the fertilizer, or you can say taking the air and light from the sisterly languages. These writers have trodden their way ahead of other writers in Konkani. Recently, I think 4 years back, there was a writer from Goa who published this, who is a novelist. He won the Saraswati Samman, which is a prestigious award for any writer in any Indian language. His novel, Houghton, tells the story of pottery community, a community which thrives on the earthen pots, on the manufacturing of earthen pots. There was a tradition of such potters in Goa as well as bordering Karnataka. He comes from that area, and his life, his observations of that area, the life in that area, all prompted him to write this novel, which was having a very good touch of live events. And then he won the Saraswati Samman. Similarly, another writer from Goa, one Ravindra Kilekar, he won the prestigious Jnanpith Award. He has written travelogues, he has written Gandhian literature, essays, and he was a very good writer in every sense of the word. There is no field which he has not touched. He wrote drama also, he wrote short stories also. A man at par with any other language. A translation of any of his work to any other language can really help us to know how good the personality and how good the writing was. So a movement or a kind of an organized effort should happen for promoting language translations from and to Konkani, which is already taken up by Sahitya Academy as well as other voluntary organizations, other publishers like Goa Konkani Academy also. You say Adan Pradhan, because in Malayalam also it happens. There are various languages in India to where MT, Bashir, Kesav Dev, you name any other, Tagari, any other writer who have excelled in their writings, all their books have been translated to other languages. Same way, whether it is Sunil Gangopadhyaya or any other Indian language writer, we have in Malayalam available translations of their books. Same thing should happen in Konkani, which is picking up very slowly but surely it is happening. And one day you will find that several Konkani books are available in Malayalam. Recently, our Sahitya Academy has published the Malayalam, the Konkani translation of Lalitambi Gandharjanam's Agni Sakshi. T. Padmanabhan's Gauri is coming out very soon. It's already getting printed. And MT's Naligattu has already come. P. Keshavadev's Randidangari has already come. ONV Kurup or Sugata Kumari is all known names in Konkani now because their poems also have been translated. And Srinarayana Guru's Daivadashakam has been translated to Konkani by my friend R.S. Bhaskar in Kochi. Like that, we are consciously organizing or trying to consolidate integration of other languages with Konkani and integration of Konkani with other languages, vice versa also. So such efforts are happening, although slowly but steadily, and I am sure one day we will have a center for Konkani language and literature in any of the at least one college in Kerala. This is all our dreams, you know. Everybody cannot go to Goa University and study in Konkani to get a certification, but there are postgraduate PG diploma course for Konkani in St. Aloysius College in Bangalore. They are promoting for several years. It is happening, and Bangalore University is conducting MA in Konkani as a regular class, and BA Konkani literature is there for evening course in Bangalore. So like that, there are various efforts also and in future we will have several translators from and into Konkani, whether it is touching Malayalam or Kannada or Marathi or Hindi or any other languages. And the National Translation Mission in Mysore under the Central Institute of Indian Languages, they are also promoting textbooks in Konkani as part of their mission. And today, if you go to Wikipedia, you will find several pages in Konkani. Earlier it was not like that. And encyclopedia was not available in Konkani, but it has happened in Goa maybe 10 years back. So in future, when it is a digital world, Konkani will be on the forefront because already a repository of more than 50,000 words have been collected and being used on the internet. So you want a translation of a Konkani word into English, you will get it. You want a translation of an English word in Konkani, that also is available. So with our fingertips, with our search using Google or any search engine, using our fingertips, it comes to our doorstep or our desktop very soon, even on our handset. So that is the technological support or the possibilities we are exploring. And today it is possible to translate from one script of Konkani to another script to write Konkani. At least 3 scripts have been already covered by World Konkani Center. And in future there are various challenges being anticipated and taken up to promote learning of Konkani and getting our books readable to across the globe. And of course other cultural forms, cultural what can I say, cultural festivals are also happening across the states. It is not just language and literature only, because the culture is important. The customs and traditions always have an impact on the people's lore, the folk or the heritage. So therefore the intangible cultural heritage of our people is being promoted and conserved across the states. And I think it is already 11 o'clock now. I think with this glimpse of my language and literature, I think I'll wind up soon. And I thank all my teachers over there, especially Dr. Santosh. Congratulations to you, sir, for becoming the principal of the institution.
Thank you, sir.
And let me share a small idea, because we have a very good library in our college, I am sure. Yeah. And in future you will come across a digital library in every institution, because we may not require such a large hall or such a large place to store books. Of course, we all love books. We have learnt our courses using books only. But in future, the next generation is what we are trying to groom. And the digital library concept, it will totally be a different experience, because today if you have 10 books of a particular title in the library, only 10 students will be able to borrow that at a time. If 11th student wants it, he will have to wait. He will have to be patient enough to one person at least to return that, so that he can borrow. Such a waiting list will be vanished when one copy will be digitized and access given to any number of students. But the librarian will be administering that and controlling the library by creating a user ID and a password, which will be confidential and one-to-one basis. It is not shareable to anybody else. And once the student leaves the institution, it is disabled and reallotted to somebody else. That kind of concept is coming very soon. And if the academic council or the management is interested to implement it in my college, I will be very, very glad to associate with that project, because currently I am very familiar with such a digital library concept. And across Kerala, various high schools and secondary schools and a few colleges also, this has been implemented. So we can discuss it at a later stage. And I thank all my friends over here, especially Sri Sridharan sir and Janardhanan and Srihari, everybody. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. It has been a very, very informative talk on Konkani culture and Konkani literature. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for your willingness to get associated with the digitization program. Definitely, we will be getting back to you, myself and the librarian. I will get back to you, and we can discuss the modalities. And definitely, we have to do it. Thank you for the suggestion and advice. Shall we earmark just 10 minutes for interaction, sir? If the students have any questions. I hope you will be able to stay back for 10 more minutes. Sir?
No problem. No problem.
Okay. So, Premendran sir, we can leave it for discussion, right? Okay. So, dear participants, this is time for you to interact with our resource person, Ramesh Pai sir. So please ask your questions. He'll be very happy to respond, as he has said. Sir, I'll just begin. It is about the script of the Konkani language. We have heard earlier that is a language without a script. Now you said that there are 3 scripts used. So what is, are you adopting scripts like Devanagari, or has the language devised its own 3 different kinds of scripts?
This question is very, hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, yes.
Yeah, this question is very interesting because there is a common misunderstanding, or I don't know what can I say about it, that Konkani has no script. My question to the person would be, why would you expect Konkani to have a script when your own language doesn't have a script? Your own means our own. What we talk is English. English doesn't have an English script. The script what we use is Roman. It is not English. The so-called national language Hindi doesn't have its own script. It is using Devanagari script, which is shared with Marathi, Sanskrit and other languages. So being an Indo-Aryan language, because any language is related to the people who speak it. People come first, language comes first, grammar comes later. Script comes later. When we need to write only, we need script. Otherwise, we are happy with spoken language. So, when we felt a need to write, we means our ancestors, when they felt to write, in the early days, I would say as early as 12th century, when they wrote it in Devanagari script. And Devanagari script, we have any number of the stone inscriptions on the rocks, on the stones, and then later in palm scripts, palm leaves, then in papers, all that was there. Because Goa was the heartland, motherland, and from there, the moment the migration started, the scattering of people happened to various places. Then the integration with the local community, local region, local language, all that was byproduct. And then after effect of that is that our people started learning the local script. Because in Goa, you will be surprised to know, when Portuguese people ruled, usage of Konkani was banned, totally banned, prohibited. Nobody is expected to speak Konkani, and if somebody is found to speak Konkani, it will be a crime. So they will be treated as criminals. This was a historical mistake, but it persisted, it continued for 150 years of Portuguese rule. Now, the plenty of scripts wherever we went, because in Kerala we found Malayalam script, so we found it convenient to write in Malayalam lipi. When in Karnataka we found convenience in writing in Kannada, using Kannada script. But after independence, when India adopted Hindi as the major national language, the use of Devanagari script was very popular. Because for writing anything you need an orthography, to know the orthography of a particular language. That will be taught in the classrooms only. So with the classrooms, with the academic atmosphere, we studied Malayalam and Kannada and Hindi and other ways. So the linking factor, what I write, another person should be able to read and understand. For that purpose, the linkage of a national script was required, and that is why today Sahitya Akademi is awarding prizes for Konkani books using Devanagari script. And it is not easy to adjudge a particular literary work which uses different scripts. There are how many scholars who know all these scripts? It's quite very few. So always there will be injustice if a particular script is done recognized, a particular script is not recognized like that. But only a large-hearted approach will be to use the national script, which is Devanagari script, which is precisely what is there on the rupee currency note.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that eye-opener explanation. all of us have this misconception. Maybe
For,
we learned it from the school. That
for,
is a lack.
for that matter, Tulu language also doesn't have a script.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
But if you go back, any linguist or epigraphist will see that Malayalam script itself was formulated from the earliest form of Malayalam script was very comparable with Tulu script.
Okay.
Yeah, and then this is a research work which already has been taken up, and there is a Tulu Sahitya Academy, if you know, formed under Kerala government.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Others, please make use of this opportunity to interact with sir. Students, teachers, please.
So Ramesh Bhai,
Yes,
born in Kanjangad, grown up in
Yes.
Payanur, and settled in Cochin.
yes.
Still you are Payanur Ramesh Bhai. Can you please explain it?
That's a very very nice question. Very interesting because I'm indebted to my teacher. You know him. It is P. Appukutan. Appukutan Master is Payanur's very famous icon. And he taught me Malayalam in 8th standard when I was in Kasargod Government High School. My father was a postmaster there, and I had opportunity to join Government High School of Kasargod for 1 year. And after that, he got transferred to Kumbla. My 9th and 10th was done in Kumbla. And all places I have been, after 3rd standard onwards, I was in Malayalam medium classes. And Appukutan Master came to my class in 8th standard, and we had a very good interaction every day on one or other lesson. And he was the one who encouraged to go through any and every book, because in Malayalam text you will find a poem by Shankarakurupu, a poem by Vallathol, a poem by Ullur. Many poets are there, and many short stories or travelogues also you will find. And when it comes to a particular lesson, any lesson for that matter, he will, just like Pai Master, you said about CJ Pai, he will inspire the student in such a way that the student will feel homely to go to the library and borrow books of that particular author. If it is Kumaranasan, I will go there and find out Chinda Vishaya, Sida, Karuna, Duravastha, whatever available there. I would have completed the reading of all books by Kumaranasan when I go to library. I would have completed all those books from where the lessons are taken, adopted. If it is Shankarakurupu, I will go to library and take a book from which book this particular poem is taken. That book I will read. So that kind of passion, interest was being instilled by Sri Appukutan Master. And one day it so happened I wrote a poem and showed to him. Sir, I don't know if this prasam is okay, all this vrittam is okay, kindly guide me, correct me wherever I have gone wrong. So he called me to the staff room and then read out the poem and then showed me these are the points where you can improve, these are the places where you need to be careful. Like that he guided, and then he said, although I said all this, you have done a very good job, why don't you publish it? Send to some magazine and you get it published. I said, I don't know how to send and how it will come. I read Mathrubhumi weekly. I read various other magazines like Malayalam Manorama or Deshabmani. And whatever, even Kuttigalda Deepika for that matter was available. So he said, send it to Mathrubhumi. So I took a paper, wrote a covering letter, made a fair copy of the poem and sent it. And every week I will follow whether my poem has come or my poem has not come. And without any acknowledgement or any advance information, it appeared in the Balapankti of Mathrubhumi one day. And while sending it, he said, you write your name as Payanur Ramesh Pai. You are from my place. You have to show your name place in your name. So it started like that. After that, whatever I wrote, whether it was an article or whether it was a poem or an essay, if it is meant for publication, I will send it with this name. And today I write in that name only, even in Konkani and Kannada. That is the bondage.
Thank you. One more question, Mr. Klein.
Yeah.
What is the present position of this Konkani Academy? Whether it is functioning or any activities are being undertaken by Konkani Academy?
See, my term was over in 2016, and we tried very hard because it was a foundation time, and it was a very critical time to organize things, because we don't have an office, we don't have a building, we don't have a place. All that with the support of people, and slowly funds being released by the government. And that time KC Joseph was the cultural minister, who was very understanding. And even the formation of the academy is even a surprise for me, because when V.S. Achyutanandan was the chief minister, he formed the Tulu Sahitya Academy. I'm just telling you briefly, because the news report of forming the Tulu Academy was read by me while I was working in Abu Dhabi. That was in 2010. And in 2011 I came back, and by that time Umanchandi became the chief minister. And it was really worrying for me why Konkani Sahitya Academy is not yet formed. I discussed this with a couple of my friends, and we three went to Trivandrum to meet the chief minister. And we were not any we did not have any links with any politicians. We straight away went as a citizen of the state. And Umanchandi's secretariat was kind enough to ask us to sit and wait until he is free. So the people who met him before us, when they moved out, our turn came, and then I said, we are coming from Ernakulam. We wanted to discuss and submit this memorandum. He said, what is this? This is about formation of a Konkani Sahitya Academy. He said, what do you mean? Why you need Konkani Sahitya Academy? I said, you have formed an academy even for Tulu language, whom they say there is no script. So what is lacking for Konkani? Because we are a business community, we are a working class, we are staying in the state for several centuries, and despite that our contribution to even Malayalam literature has not been properly recognized. So we need an academy for our own purpose, because our books are not possible to be published in anywhere else. Our writers in Kerala need an encouragement from the local government. He said, why we have not formed is because nobody asked for that. I said, no, it is not like that. Representations have been made earlier, but I wanted to spearhead this request. This memorandum is precisely that. Then he said, will you be happy if we form an academy on the same lines like Tulu Sahitya Academy? I said, fine, to start with, we'll do that. Then he said, it is not under my department, it is under culture department. You go to Mr. KC Joseph, I will put a word to him. And his secretary RK was called and said, take these people to KC and explain him that I have sent, and do whatever possible to form a Konkani Sahitya Academy. This was the event which made a turning point. And then KC was very supportive, very positive, and he endorsed the view, and then asked me to collect the computer number of that memorandum entered in their dispatch inward register, and then follow up with that particular number.
Right.
So later committees have been formed subsequently, because it's all political appointment. Currently I doubt whether it is that much active.
Others? Premchandran sir? It seems Srihari sir. Shall we then go for the final formalities?
Sure,
Premendra sir?
sure, sir.
Okay. So let me invite the secretary of the English Alumni Association, Sri KKP Janardhanan, who is also from the field of banking, maybe very close to Pfizer, to propose a vote of thanks. That will be the last item on the agenda.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Audible, please.
So the curtain is to fall down from the proceedings. I have to mention at least Santosh and Mr. Ramesh Bhai. All others are my dear friends, and they always will be participating in each and every functions of the Department of English. And I am sorry that Ramesh Bhai was missed by me in the college for a gap of 3 years, because I have came out as an English graduate in 1973. And I had heard about you in plenty. And I have read about you, heard about you, everything. But so far, I think I have not personally met you. And very shortly, we will be meeting. I think nowadays, you are in Payyanur only. Then, our dearest principal, Mr. Santosh, who is on that chair from yesterday, I wish him a very bright career as the principal of our dear college. Then I must thank Mr. A.C. Srigiri and Mr. Premchandran, department head, and Mr. K.P. Sridharan, the only man along with Santosh, to raise some doubts regarding the Konkani language. And I actually, personally, I like Konkani very much. I was working in Alatti for 7 years. Now, not Alatti, it was set to Kerala. And I had a lot of Konkani friends. And I tried to learn at least some basic Konkani from them. And sir, I like your curry, Ambu Sambat, very much. And some terms of Konkani I know very well. And the one particular thing I have observed is that some pronunciations in Konkani comes from the, we will feel like coming it from the stomach. Some, there are the very utterance. We feel that it is coming from the stomach. Some reflexes will be there in our stomach muscles. That is a very peculiar thing regarding Konkani language. I have obviously this is what I have noted. Okay, then I don't want to prolong further. I once again thank each and everybody who has participated in this session. And I think this is not the end. And we will be remembering Professor Pai forever. And regarding Pai Master, I don't want to say anything for the time being, because we have expressed it on several occasions, and so many people have put their opinions about Pai Master and the relations with him. And I am not to say anything about the great Jagannath Pai, my dearest teacher. So, once again, thanking one and everybody. I am stopping here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sri KKP Janardhanan, General Secretary, English Alumni. So we will wind up the official program here.